Aloha Kohala. It is 3 o'clock, and this is Intuitive Talk Story on KNKRLP 96.1 FM Kohala. Joining you today is Eila Allgood and
Michál Anna.
We are happy to be here. We're pre-recording this show, so I'm not going to talk too much about what's going on outside of here because it's a different day. And we just got together and talked story a little bit, and we're talking about how sadness impacts us. And we've talked about a lot of things, but I don't know that we've talked about sadness / grief / depression, and it's a real thing, and there's a lot of stuff going on. Maybe we don't see it as much in our beautiful community, but it is out there, and there's a lot of angst in the world.
Well, and I think we do see it right here at home, in our personal lives and our emotions, and we may not be seeing the warring or the kind of the outward external things going on that some people are experiencing, especially with the weather. Just dropped out. Doop, doop.
You're fine. Keep talking.
Especially with the weather and all the things that are happening. There's aspects of that obviously we're not experiencing here in the northern tip of the Big Island. But sadness happens for all of us as we move through different loss, grief. Many people are leaving the planet. Many people have been sick. Many people have been releasing agreements, releasing people, relationships, I myself included. So processing sadness has been a real thing for me as well. And it's a really interesting thing, I think, to process sadness into a place where it's a usable fire. Like, we don't want to dwell in sadness. We want to be real about our sadness. We want to mourn our perceived loss. Again, remembering there is no real loss because we are not really separate from anything. So leaping from a unified platform as much as possible in your thought process, allowing yourself to see, it's not really like our friends, our family, your dog, your cat, your mom, your dad. People leave us. They're not really away from us. We're never really apart. We get to be with them again. They're still with us in spirit and energetics. We are not separate from it, but there is great loss and a perceived loss that feels really real and is important to acknowledge and feel the pain and the emotion and really let yourself purge those things. And for myself, using my energy tools really helps that process a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think I'm the one that went out there. There we go.
We're both off.
Okay. Anyway, it's still working, so honoring the emotion to me is the first step in how we move through the process. And as you were talking, I was thinking, there have been times in my life where there was a huge thing that happened and there was a lot of loss of relationships, loss of lifestyle. And the thing that I found, the tool that I used to get me through those times, was I acknowledged that it was painful, and I kept looking at the bigger picture, that there is some transformation going to happen here, and I have faith and trust in the universe that it's all going to go in a positive way. This isn't like the end of anything. It's that cusp before something new is going to occur, and not to get someone who, like myself, can get ahead of herself and be already on the new thing. It's kind of like dancing between the new and this transformation, and also honoring the fact that it feels really hard and painful inside sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. As you're talking, I'm seeing the butterfly and the chrysalis and that whole, it's a surrendering back to, which we have talked a lot about surrender, and this is very inherent in releasing our sadness, I think, is surrendering, because it is a death. We're dying in a form. There's a death happening with our sadness, and there's a death within, to die to something you wanted or something you perceived or something you thought you had, or just a missing of a person, whatever that might be. that death is this really deep surrender in ourselves. The more we're willing to surrender into acceptance that this is what's happening, we are in a form dying, and allows us then to do what I was saying, like to embrace this new experience. So that metamorphosis of being in the chrysalis of like, that sucks. It's not fun. We're like, ooh, it's tight in here. It feels really uncomfortable. I don't like it. I don't like this at all. It's not fun. But then poof, my wings appear, and now I can fly. And now my beautiful colors come forth, and now I get to expand into the butterfly that I truly am.
And we can't rush it, right? We can't rush that process. Sometimes we want to be over there, but we're still over here. And one of the things that I've appreciated in my life is the ability to feel. Like there were times in my life where I was so bottled up that I just couldn't cry. And I remember my daughter even saying this to me. She's like, Mom, my friend just died and I don't feel sad. I can't cry. It's like it's in there somewhere, but you can't quite get it out. So now the fact that I can cry pretty easily, I love that, because to me that's telling me I'm alive, and that's just part of the life process. So there's perspective on our emotions and how we view them. You know, I've met people who they cry at the drop of a hat, like their whole life, and they're like, oh, it's so hard. And I used to think, isn't that great that you can cry? Like you can express that and get it out right away, and it's not stuffed down there somewhere.
Right. I can relate to that on multiple levels. I was definitely been in warrior modes at different aspects of my life, and I was in a big warrior mode in this last decade of my life, I think, in many ways. And I myself in this last purge have been crying at the drop of a hat. Like I cried so much in the last 3 months, 4 months, so much more than normal. Like I'm just energetic, and I'm like, I'm now crying again about this whole thing. I don't know. I'm just crying. I'm just emotional. I'm feeling emotional yet again. And it has been this huge purge of letting go. And that sadness, again, transforming the sadness and the emotional perceived loss, and also the perceived things that, because when we lose something, it really means we're ready to become the next thing too, in that way. Like some of your working, you lose something because maybe I don't need to attract that gnarly character in my life any longer. I don't need that experience to teach me something any longer. So there's sadness because we have so many things in an experience. It's not just one thing that we shift out of.
Right.
We might have but I really loved going to that restaurant. Darn it, I'm going to miss that, their apple pie. Or, there's some things you just really know, like that thing I'm going to really miss. But the rest of the experience is not my highest good, and it's going. And the apple pie is going with it right now, but an apple pie might show up again in some other way. You'll get apple pie some other way in a different format. So be unattached to how your apple pie is served and receive it however it comes, you know what I mean? And let it all go. Because it's not like in loss and in sadness, it's both tragedy and beauty. Like nothing is just it was all beautiful, it was all tragedy. It's all of it, the spattering of emotions. So we want to honor all the pieces, that we're not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. We're recognizing what pieces are really inherent, what pieces will maybe come back, what's really mine, what's not. Peeling through that as we move through these paces.
I was in my 20s, 27, when my mom died. And it was a big thing because I saw her all the time. We lived 2 miles away from each other and saw each other a lot. And I remember it just felt like so huge to have her out of my life. And yet in that, I also knew intellectually, I knew there was huge opportunity, because my mother held I held her in certain esteem. So there was a little less freedom for me to just be who I was. I was always thinking, well, would Mom like this? Would she think this was good? And so there's that part of loss and grief where it is all encompassing and it is very sad. and there's also opportunity if we can kind of breathe.
Well, you bring up a cool point. It gets me kind of into session work. I do soul retrieval and release work and ancestral release work and that kind of stuff, and help people move out of traumatic fields. And the ancestral release, what you're talking about, many times after a parent has died, then there's a really big opportunity to move a load of programming and ancestral wounding that's been carried through the line. Usually we ourselves will play it out so much stronger or have a very hard time releasing it while a parent might be alive.
Sure.
Both of my parents are alive, and been able to. I'm still moving through stuff, but like I've been able to do it with them alive. But I've had a lot of clients that when the death happens, I don't know this yet from myself on my own personal self, but I know it in witness to others' experience of watching and experiencing them have a parent leave, and then massive programs leave. Like, I'm not worthy was running through the lineage. And now that isn't so, because they were maybe so loud with the person or so connected, like they saw them every day.
And strong
like
personality.
You see them every day. This is the really part of your life. If it's really ingrained, we don't even know we're doing it.
Absolutely.
Until it's gone. We're like, whoa, I didn't even realize
who am I when
that
I'm not,
was happening.
I'm not the daughter of my mother, or the daughter of my father, or the sister, whatever that role was. It's like, who am I without that?
Right. So then when we let ourselves release ancestrally. So again, just a reminder, we often go, God, what's wrong with me? What's my pain? I shouldn't be feeling this way. I should just did this. But you're not just dealing with your own pain. You're actually dealing with your ancestral pain. Where also it's your patriarchal line, your matriarchal line. Like, what is all the pain that's been carried forever? So think of things leaving as a means of compost. Just compost that. It's done. Compost. It doesn't need to be there any longer. And we're allowing that compost to feed a next brilliant, beautiful transformation of the butterfly versus, trying to keep this keep it alive. You can't keep it alive. It's just going to decompose.
Like you can't keep mom alive. You can't keep a relationship alive. You can't keep. You gotta. Right.
Compost.
There is that letting go, that letting go. And then we were talking about, and maybe we'll come to that later. One of the things that I remember is experiencing a lot of grief some years ago. It just came out out of nowhere. And in the sadness and the crying and the tears, when I could take a breath, I was like, oh, this is good. This is just what I needed. And then going right back and letting it happen some more. And just feeling, I guess the word is cathartic, just feeling that and allowing that and being kind to yourself through that. It's just so important.
Oh, it's so important. I've been nurturing and healing myself a lot in the last months. And some of that, like you said, when you just taking small moments to not put pressure on yourself about certain things. When you're going through something, give yourself a break. Yes, you always do the blah, blah, but maybe you don't have to do it for this week. Like give yourself a break, let yourself have some space, ask for help, reach out with friends, with family, create support systems. We all really need to receive love and support. And part of our healing of really moving into full surrender of embodiment of our divine mother, divine father, feminine, masculine energy within the self, which is what we're really the goal is, that hierogamic union within. That is, we have to be in resonance of I am worthy, I am fully supported, I'm loved. On our feminine side, that's when we don't, and that allows us the platform to then execute our masculine with grace and ease and feel I am worthy and I am enough. If either one of those aren't in place, we skew, we invert, we go some upside down perspective. We come from a place of, separation on some level, we separate. So we want to be in this wholeness and allow that to help move things forward.
when you were just talking and you said, and this came up last night, so I'm going to ask it of you today, is you said invert. Can you say what that word means to you in terms of what we're talking about?
Separation.
Separation.
Simply, you're either in unity or in separation, love or fear. We're either in an upright format of love, or we're in a inverted,
like upside down,
an inverted upside down format of fear. We're either giving our energy, like we're in one or the other. I'm either embracing you in a feel of, hey, we're together, or I'm pushing away. And how I operate isn't inherent in the very first second that I even think or do something. We are already separating or embracing. If I think, well, Eila, why does she think like she doesn't even like, or does she think I did something wrong? I've already separated just in my thought. I've begun my thought with separation.
Right.
So now I'm in a separated field. It doesn't matter what you say to me. I'm living in the separated field. You might come at me with unity. I'm not going to get it because I'm in separation.
Well, that brings up a really good point, because I think a lot of us sometimes think we can help somebody shift their perspective if we just keep talking to them. And we're gonna.
Oh, you can't. I really learned this one. This is my thing. Hey, everybody knows me out there. Sorry if I talked your ear off. I like, let me tell you over here. Hey, if I tell you on this side, maybe if I go under your legs and I'm like, hey, shh, 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 I got a secret. If I go around the back, shh, 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 then you'll hear me. It doesn't work. Bottom line, we're all making choices. We're all on journeys. My consensus after many deep dives into many dimensional fields is compost. Everyone is going at their own rate, and you can lead a horse to, there's some great metaphors. Lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. You can't take anyone with you. Bottom line is what you can do, what we can all do, all of us, we can vibrate. We can vibrate and go, you can do your work. Man in the mirror.
Best version of you.
Do the man in the mirror.
Yeah.
If be the example that you want to see in the world. That all those metaphors are ring true. We can't take anyone with us, and many people aren't going this time. It's a really long game. That's another way to look at it. You're in a really long game. Like, think of this lifetime as a round.
Right.
And so everyone's in a round of their big long game. So Joey over there, or Scooby-Doo, is, he's learning that thing this lifetime. Maybe he's not supposed to be where you are. He's supposed to be right where he is. And he's learning exactly what he's learned. And I've had to learn these things the hard way because I'm persistent and I bang myself up against the wall a lot. So I've done that a lot. Bang my head on a wall trying to, no, but come with me. You're going to love it. No, but they're exactly where they need to be. And really,
and it might not be where you
highest
want
good.
them to go.
Right.
Or where you feel would be best for them to go.
Exactly. So you let that go, and just everyone's on their journey, exploring their own journey, their own resonance, and then remembering their divine unity in their own beautiful way. There's many ways to the top of the mountain. It's just one thing.
Absolutely. And I think I think suffering comes from, in this realm, trying to get somebody to see it your way, or to come to where you are, or to go to the level that you're at, or any of those things, rather than accepting where they are and honoring where you are. And maybe you're interacting and maybe you're not. Like, I think this comes up a lot for people with partnerships and family.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe less with friends. We can accept each other because she's going to go back to her life anyway.
Right.
But somebody you live with, or your family, like you want your sister, your brother, your whatever to be, I know that they could be more,
And this kind of comes into sadness, too, because we're often sad because of our attachment.
Yes.
So the Buddhists actually say attachment is the root of all suffering.
Yes.
So it's attachment, your attachment to something, because I'm not attached to what you do. And I often say to people in couples counseling, like, think of this as like your best friend. Like, if Eila and I went out to lunch, she I got to go take a call. I'm not going to take it personal. I'm like, whatever, do whatever you want. I don't care. But your partner does something, right? Or your person you're supposed to be my mate. Now why are they supposed to now be with you all the time? Or they didn't call me today, or they didn't do this.
Yes,
But if it were me, you wouldn't care.
A lot of expectations.
Yeah, a lot of of expectation. You wouldn't think, oh no, I'm not your friend anymore. Or where'd she go?
Well, maybe when I was 12, I would have thought that.
Sure. But, these might not be great examples, but you see what I'm saying is we place all these kind of unweighted things onto this person that now has this role in our life. Because you're my blah blah.
Yes.
And I've heard a lot of people say, well, because it's my husband. Well, it is my wife. You would expect your husband to act a certain way.
Right.
You would expect your wife to be a certain thing.
Right.
So now that we have the label and the role, now there's this expectation that comes with it. So if we can wash that out of our minds and go, wait a minute, let me catch that. I don't want to live in label. I want to live in freedom. I want to live in flow. I want to live in supporting the most divine creativity for everyone in my life. Why does my friend get more slack and freedom than the person that's supposedly closest to me?
Right.
Like, hey, it's actually, I'd rather not be any with it. I'm like, hey, that's a hard job. I can't meet up. I can't fill all those roles.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so we put so much on each other when we put them in a role. So taking the roles off also releases our attachment, which releases a lot of our suffering, which helps us release our sadness.
Yeah. Yeah, because sometimes we're creating our own sadness through those.
Through our attachment.
Through those attachments, yeah. And also I was thinking about another term for role, or another way to look at it is, my role in this lifetime, or my job in this lifetime, is whatever it is, and somebody over there, the paper towel, has its role over there. And if I try to get it to do my role, the role of paper towel. Yeah, we can be funny.
I love
so there's that. I'm thinking of people that I've been very close to that. Gosh, they just, it's like, are they ever going to get it? Well, no, because they're in their role. They're doing
paper towel.
They're a paper towel.
They're paper
and
towel
they're
rolling
the way
loving it. They're just rolling how they want to roll. Exactly.
Yeah. So I think that can be a really big source of sadness, right?
Back to attachment.
Yeah.
It's really just you being attached, or being attached to, well, but I don't want you. I want you'd rather be a napkin, but I'm a paper towel. I mean, what do you want? I'm on a paper towel roll right now. I can't really be a napkin. I'm like doing something else.
I function a little bit like a napkin, but not exactly. So leave me alone.
Yeah, I'm doing my thing. And that's what everything is. We're all just doing our thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if any of you out there, it was a decade ago, it was a little meme, like a video viral. It was this little girl trying to tell her dad, like, she's trying to put her seatbelt on, and he's like, do you need help? She goes, no, worry about yourself. And she's trying to get it some more, and he goes, do you want help with that? She goes, no, you drive, you worry about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, I got it. Get off of me.
I'll get it. I'll get it. Give me.
You're supposed to be driving. Don't you have a job? Your job is to
that.
drive, not to be on my case about the seatbelt. So worry about yourself. Like, are you doing good as a napkin? Or is everything going all right? Like, why are you up on paper towels business? These paper towels got his own stuff to worry about. Just be a napkin and enjoy the ride.
That's it. Yeah.
Wipe up what you got to wipe up. Pretty much.
Yeah, that's kind of, we do a little bit of that, wiping up our own stuff.
Wipe up your own mess.
Yeah.
First, take care of your side of the street. Like, you got to first be able to clean your own house. This is what it's all about. Oh, so some practical tools on sadness. Clean your house. Really, clean your house. Literally, clean your house. Physically,
clean
mentally, spiritually. Clean your physical house. Rearrange your house. Put things in different places. Change the energy and dynamic of whatever energy you've been living in. Change it into something different. We have to create. We are creators. So in order to release our sadness, we need to feel and do all the things we're saying, move through all these things. And then we use it to, like, okay, I'm just to purge. I'm going to feel all this. Maybe I'm looking through things and I'm cleaning, right? And I'm releasing things and memories and other things. And we're purging the emotional framework. Really good time to also do a cleanse. Physical cleanse, herbal cleanse, detox, parasites, all the gamut. You want to get the golem out of there, just do it. If you need help, reach out, because this is really, like, huge. You want this thing to run something more than sadness or fear or any of those other things. Guess what? Bugs come with all that stuff. bugs are there because when we're in lower realms, we got bugs. So if we got bugs, we got to get them out because otherwise they are running the show. Entities are small. They're in there and your chemicals and the poisons and all the things, and they're affecting our minds and our things. So if I'm like, I'm so sad all the time, but I'm drinking Coca-Cola all day, well, I'm probably not going to feel better, honestly, because I'm just over-sugared. It's turning into food for parasites, and I've got a whole body full of them. So I'm not going to feel more enlivened or feel healthy. I'm going to keep feeling sad, and then I'm going to wonder why I don't feel good. Well, I don't feel good because this place is, like a breeding ground for dumping.
It's a lot of junk going on, and
Junk.
I've seen this.
We don't want a junkyard. We want a temple.
I've seen this with people I know who have been on antidepressants because they're depressed, and they don't eat well, and they don't put the two together. And you can't, you know this. You can't tell somebody what to do. You can introduce them to, maybe if you ate these foods, you'd feel better, and that would help the depression. Well, in our society, we've been told that depression is almost like it falls out of the sky, and some people have it and some people don't. No, really. I mean,
they're now doing that with heart attacks. They fall out of the sky, too.
That's to without getting crazy, it's just my perspective, my opinion
I agree with you.
is to sell antidepressants. So when I see a 25-year-old taking antidepressants who has like everything in like a decent life, like they're not in the bowels of life. They have a decent life, but they're told and they're programmed to think that that's the only way out. So
well, we won't get too into this topic because it could go down a rabbit hole. But I'm gonna say this one thing around that. We are taking medical or concoctions for way too many things. We never did this before. We are at a time in humanity, nobody did this 30 years ago. This was not the practice. I just heard a really crazy number. I'm not sure that this is the exact number, but I was hearing that 22 vaccinations are going for babies being born in hospitals right now. You're killing the children before they even get out of the hospital.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. And then you're giving them drugs for ADHD because they can't pay attention. They're co-creative children who need to run around and learn and not sit to learn to be factory workers at a desk. So we've got to really reframe our systems. And that's a whole nother topic. But so in general, we're kind of saying if you want to live at the this conversation is about living at a whole nother level. If you're living still in taking a lot of medications, eating sugars, you're probably not even listening to us, to be honest, because this is probably like, what are they talking about? But if you're like on the realm of wanting to feel good and you are proactive towards doing that, this is probably more your vibe. And you're listening to this to get tools and to find ways to enliven yourself at a higher capacity.
Well, and maybe be a little inspired by something you hadn't heard before, because you don't hear this on mainstream news or whatever. And, one of the things that came up for me is if we're in a difficult place, if we feel depressed, we feel very sad, and we've gone through all of the processing and we still can't seem to get it, and we go into the food, what happens is if you take the pill, it's something outside of us that's fixing us, and that doesn't lead to the empowerment that we were talking about. So that when I go through sadness and I come out the other side, I feel empowered because I have allowed that process to happen. I've given myself the space. I've thought about what could it be, and I've gone into it, and then I feel good. Now it might come back tomorrow, might come back in 15 minutes, but I've done it. I haven't given my power away to anything or anyone else to fix it, because I have everything I need, as does everyone out there.
And you haven't skipped the process, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
You walked through the fire, and that's a big one you bring up, because our culture, the American dream, it goes fast. It goes, look it up on the internet and know right now.
Yeah.
You're not that's not what this is about. Like, it's not a quick fix. To have real mastery is not like a daytime certificate. Like, I did a Zumba workshop and now I'm a master.
Yeah,
it doesn't work like that.
Right.
It's time put in. It's like, over time you achieve and receive, repetition is the mother of all learning, these things settle in. So there's no quick fix, and people in the society, we really get pushed, and that comes kind of into, I'm going to bring up a quick flat false light world. Anything that's pushing like just butterflies and rainbows, you're all good, is like to try, is like, and people feel bad because I not love all the way. Like I'm not feeling loving. Why aren't I feeling loving? I should be feeling loving like
all the
Susie
time.
Q all the
Right.
time. But no, we have to feel our real emotion. An only way to get to that real place is to feel all the fire so that I actually burn it all out and actually become the butterfly. You know, I mean, like you can't fake being a butterfly. You know, it's like, you know what I mean? You can't,
Yeah.
you either like went through the chrysalis
Yeah.
and did the metamorphosis and boom, grew some wings, or
Right.
you didn't.
Or you didn't.
You know what I
Right.
mean? There's no pretending.
Right.
So, you know, it's like just, you know, you got to
I'm just, I'm seeing like the
cocoon.
the cocoon, like someone taping wings on
the
it.
cocoon. He's like, no, I'm a really shiny butterfly. What do you mean? You don't like my wings? They're really great. I think they're great. Yeah. I mean, you know, what's the point in that, right? So, you know, it's like you got to own whatever you're at.
Yeah.
Own wherever you're at and
Without
enjoy the ride
judgment.
yeah, absolutely, without
Yeah.
judging. It's all just your own game. We're all in our own story. It's not about anybody else ever.
Yeah.
Really,
And,
it's
and
our
being
own
kind
choice.
to yourself through whatever you're going through. And grief is an interesting experience because
Ooh, it's hard.
it's hard and then it's not. And then you're laughing and
Yes,
then
that's so
and then
true.
you're not. And then
Then you're crying again.
and then you think you're over it, and then
And you're
2
still
years
not
or
over it.
10 years later, a song comes on the radio, and you're like, you feel that in your gut and in your heart, and you're sad and you're crying, and you're like, why am I crying? You know, that happened 10 years ago or 20 years ago, and it just is what it is. And I think also one thing triggers another. I've had an experience where I had so many things happen at once. I couldn't feel all that grief at once. So it took years before the grief started coming out and coming out and being expressed. And so we don't know what's going on in there. It's complicated. And so being kind to yourself and allowing those emotions to come up and share them if you want to share them. If you don't want to share them, don't. Write them down if you like to write things down. Talk them into your phone. You know, I've done that. Have you ever done? You do that when you're driving.
I do a lot of talking and like notes and
Yeah, and maybe I'll never look at it
categorizing.
again or listen to it, but it's there. And sometimes I'll feel better just being in the car alone and not recording it and just talking it.
And whatever, like, back to the kind of, some practical things, like whatever you like to create, you're basically transforming everything. You're alchemizing. Whatever it was, you're turning it into something new, into the new form, like the butterfly. You're transforming everything that's around you into this new phase that I'm entering, while I really honor whatever has been here, honor the loss, the family member, the loss of an idea, the loss of a story. We buy into stories and we crumble the illusion of the story. I thought that, like the fairy tale story, whatever fairy tale you hold, we've all held different fairy tales of, I'm going to have the blah, and it's like, that's the fairy tale. But it's an illusion that we reach for, which creates a looshing effect, and which is a siphoning of energy. We give energy away when we have this desire and yearn happen. So when we crush that, that's a form of loss and sadness, a sadness of what we thought was or thought could be or was never manifest, that has that tragic feeling inside of it, I have some of that myself, been going through some tragic loss and in my own framework. And at the same time, like you're saying, you're reframing. I have to move through those fires. I've had to step through them and feel all the horrible feelings or sadness or, perceive loss. But I also realize how much of that, as you're releasing things, you realize how much of it is created in your mind, just inside your own mind. It's not really out there like, oh, well, but actually Eila's just sitting there writing on the paper. There's not all those things I'm thinking aren't actually happening. It's actually just, dun, dun, dun. It's really just right in front of you. Like, it's just a Does that make sense? Like we put a lot on with our own mind, back to those expectations, attachments, things we think are going to be happen, what we
Right.
might want out of something. And when they don't happen in those ways, we perceive it to be a loss or a sadness. But really, it's all something you just created in your mind in the first place. When you peel back all the things, if you just look at what it actually is without all the expectation or things put on it of your own mind, there really isn't as much loss or sadness because, well, it just is. And that gets to that Buddhist concept when attachment is the root of all suffering. Because when we let go and we go, it is what it is, well, then there's no sadness because it just simply is that without our projections.
Yeah, and I think for me, I'm last week turned 64, and I think it over the course of my life, I've seen so many things and experienced so many things that it's like, well, okay, I'd be sad if this didn't work out or that. Well, would I? I don't know. I'm just, I had a dream. I got married at 20 years old, and I just remembered my mom. She used to there was a commercial on TV with the Marlboro Man in the 70s, 80s. And the guy I married smoked Marlboro. And she's like, oh, he's like the Marlboro Man.
Oh. And at the time, it was a specific, cool
Oh,
thing,
it was a
right?
certain look, cowboy hat.
Yeah, and it was kind of cool.
And the whole cigarette thing and don't talk a lot. The man who doesn't talk a lot, he's like mysterious or something. Anyway, fast forward 18 years later, and I'm going through not living with him anymore, and we're in different places, and that's the end of that whole fantasy of, married and kids and all that. And I move into my own little house, and I'm sort of excited, but I'm sort of terrified and sad at the loss. And you talk about moving things around. That Christmas, I had celebrated a lot of kind of traditional Christmases with trees and presents and decorations and all that. And that year, I hung my Christmas tree from I took the chandelier down and I hardwired the tree
I love
to the
it.
chandelier.
And how get upside down?
And I hung it upside down. And at first, my kids were like, "What is wrong with you, Mom?" And I'm like, my whole life was upside down.
Yeah.
So it actually made a lot of sense to me.
You see, you had been inverted, and you
Yeah.
had to set everything upright. And so you did that.
It was upright for me.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
See, you were setting things upright because that's
Yeah.
what we are doing. It's this shift of power from power to
Yeah.
love.
Yeah.
Because the world puts power on top and love on the bottom. Because it's really the world operates in the Lucifer's way, if you were to say a quote, or the separated way. Power rules. How successful are you? How much money do you have? That's power.
Yes.
Whereas love on top is the currency of love is what rules the new earth. And that's kind of what we're talking about as we make these shift into an upright position, releasing attachment and turning it upright as you honor yourself.
Right, and honoring a new path. And so, what's your upside down Christmas tree? What is what change have you been through that you could, clear that space? And I really love that you brought that up because I've lived very messy and I've lived very tidy, and there's something to tidy that really and clean. Having clean spaces, whether it's as big as this little studio or 10,000 square feet, wherever we are, it's so important that we feel relaxed, and we can't relax in clutter.
Space is a cluttered mind.
And
a
it
clean
is.
space is a clean mind. I mean, mow your grass. How does it feel?
Mow your grass.
So beautiful. Look
I
at
love
that,
when I mow
right?
the grass. I just
that's
did
in,
that
you know,
yesterday.
when you paint something, I love paint. So
Me
I
too.
paint everything.
Yep.
I just repainted my house. I
It's
repaint.
refreshing, right?
I just new place, new walls, new
Right,
scenario.
right.
Paint it and create it. The other thing that I was just telling my friend the other day, you can set intention everywhere. I'm actually doing secret squirrel things all the time. So here's like one.
I like that secret squirrel things.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Secret squirrel. We're on a secret squirrel mission. So secret squirrel things like I paint the word love on my wall. You're never going to see it. It's all the one color. But I write the word and then I paint it.
Right.
I write things and I paint them. I sprinkle intention and then I put it into the physical creation. While you're out there shoveling, I mean, we're all working all the time. I work outside. I do things a lot. I'm not just like wooing around. I travel around in the woo-woo realms, and I also am very grounded. So I'm getting a lot done, but I'm getting it done in the woo-woo way. I mean, meaning I'm being intentional.
You're very conscious about what you're doing.
Aware, and I'm putting my intention and energy. So the reminder is back to that when we're unattached and amused, we're just being really here. We get to create plant seeds, enliven everything. So as we release our sadness and transform it and alchemize it and release these things that don't serve us in other forms, maybe not just, sadness, this applies to many things. We release what doesn't serve us. We allow this process of transformation. We're willing to walk through the fire, which is what it takes. We can't get around the fire. You have to walk through it and actually get your stuff. Let go. Look at some hard things maybe. Some of it's hard to look at. But you got to look at it. And you got to go, yep, that's me. Whatever things, own anything, own whatever we got. Forgive
yourself. Yeah. Start with you.
You and anyone else.
Yeah.
Forgive everyone. Forgive the whole game. Forgive the whole gig. And let it go. Forgive them for they know not what they do. We all are experiencing that. We all don't know we're all just like players in the game. Like, I didn't know the rule. So, don't be so hard on yourself or hard on anyone else. Let's help one another get through these things. And that I had a client earlier today, actually, who this reminds me to just share. It's okay to receive. Like, we're like, oh, I should do it on my own. Society's really programmed us. I got to do it on my own. Make your way. I mean, if you make your own way,
right.
Don't give them any money.
Anybody.
They don't need anybody. But you know what? That's bull. And that was a program that was put in America to separate us, because if we stay separate, then none of us get anything done, because, you have to make your own money. I can't give you any. We have to, we can't help each other. You're supposed to make it on your own. But, do other cultures do that? They don't. They bring 50 people to China. Chinese people come. A lot of people come to America with 25 family members, live in a small place, work in one restaurant, all work hard. By the next 5 years, they own the block. So maybe we ought to help one another, right?
Yeah.
So get into receiving. More. Get into receiving, because we're stronger in packs. We can't all do everything. We need to help. You have gifts, we have gifts. I got this part, you got that part. Great, let's hooey. That's like the old style way. That's what we did. Like even when it comes to getting jobs done, I'm gonna put back out there the hooey of helping one another. You get 4 families, 5 families, whatever. It's too overwhelming. A lot of times stress is the number one thing for our sadness, our intensity. If we didn't have Right.
Yeah.
We didn't have so much work that we can never catch up with. So hooey with 5 families. And every Friday, Saturday, whatever, we go once a month. We go to one person's family's house, and let's all 5 families work at Eila's house.
Right.
And get it done.
Right.
And then we go to your place next month, and we get it done. More community effort. So in our lives, and I'm planting this to myself, and I'm saying it to all of all of us together. Let us all implement more grassroots connectivity in helping one another to grow the world, the new earth that we want to see. We are not little islands. We need to do it together in the co-creative roundtable. It's absolute sovereignty as a being, as a spiritual being. But then we are co-creators here, and where 2 or more are gathered, it shall be done. It's more powerful when we come together in empowered numbers, as empowered holograms vibrating truth.
I wanted to say, as you were talking, thank you. As you were talking about moving and working in the ground, and that I have found anytime I feel particularly sad or grief-stricken, if I get my hands in the dirt, if I get outside and spend some time and physically move. So maybe you don't have a yard you can work in, you can still take a walk. You got to move that energy, whatever you're feeling. It's not going to be better if you just sit on the couch for all day.
It won't.
I had a friend who she's like, I didn't call you back yesterday because I was in bed with the blankets over my head all day. And she was a vibrant person, but that's what she would do. She'd like really go disappear and not be available. And I'd be like, well, why don't you just go outside? And she couldn't at that point in her life. But it just showed me how valuable it is to keep moving your body and to get out there. And also, as you're talking about working in groups, we can feel so much better, so much more joy when we give and we're interacting with other people. Even if we're not doing a lot, if we just don't think about how much we're doing and more focus on showing up. Showing up to volunteer for some event that they need some volunteers for, whatever it takes. That's what I've been seeing a lot. I see a lot of people who live alone. They don't stay home alone all day. The happy ones. They're out there doing stuff. Yeah, they're in the community. They're involved. They meet their friends down here. Like, there's no sitting around at home all day long.
Well, whenever you're trying to feel sorry for yourself, it's right. Go help somebody else. You know, like be of service. I'm a Virgo. I love service. That's like my number one thing. So for me, I've always like go to service too.
Yeah.
It's such an easy place for me to go. Like, get over yourself, serve somebody. Get over yourself, just be helpful.
Well, and we are all different in what will help us. So as
not everyone likes to serve.
Right, as you're listening, right, as you're listening to us, and you're like, well, that doesn't make me feel good to do that. Well,
then don't do it.
Maybe something else does. Yeah. Keep looking at.
Follow your own heart bliss, no matter what.
Yeah, I think generally following your heart is what brings the most joy, even in the sadness. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Listening to your own Christic eternal heart. I think we should probably do a little commercial break.
Yes, I think it's time. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back. Aloha. This is Eila Allgood of Women's Voices. Please join me on Wednesdays between 4 and 6 p.m. on KNKRLP 96.1 FM Kohala. We never quite know what we're going to be hearing because most of my choices are intuitive, unless they come from you, my listening audience, when you call in and make a request. I look forward to playing tunes for you.
It's the Cosmic Cowgirl here.
Oh, this feel good. Sequence activated. Turn me up.
Transmitting live from Haas and Pfeffer's Jackalope Lounge and Open Air Auditorium. Where the bar is low and the coconuts are high.
She been do it like she get to me. Sound system like a wave.
On a heaping helping of Americana with
Take the feet, setting up a pound.
Aloha, y'all.
Bust it for me.
Orbital phase initiated.
Bust it for me.
Dust off your 10-gallon hat and saddle up the old cayuse. We're commencing Fridays. That's 3 to 5 Hawaii Standard Time. In Hobbytown, we're stuck like 1OPE at 96.1 on your FM radio dial.
Bust it for me.
And streaming Bent for Leather at knkr.org.
The Kohala Night Market returns on Wednesday, August 7th, from 4 to 7 p.m. at the Kohala Village Hub. In August, we are celebrating Ohana Fitness. Wear your favorite exercise outfit. The special events presented include Taiko at 4:30 p.m., Zumba at 5:15 p.m., and line dancing featuring the Kohala Senior Citizens Club at 6 p.m. Also, the community is invited to shop locally produced food and crafts. There will be information booths from local groups. Also, food trucks will be cooking up some local grinds. That's the Kohala Night Market on Wednesday, August 7th, from 4 to 7 p.m. at the Kohala Village Hub. See you there. On Sunday, August 4th, you can stock up your toolbox and support a good cause. The North Kohala Tool Library is having a tool sale fundraiser. You can purchase power tools, hand tools, garden tools, drills, saws, routers, planers, sanders, shop vacs, jigsaws, weed eaters, and more. You can also buy Tool Library merchandise. The event is at the Tool Library on Akonepuli Highway near the entrance to Kamehameha Park, Sunday, August 4th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. For more information about the North Kohala Tool Library, go to nktoollibrary.org. Mahalo.
All right, welcome back to Intuitive Talk Story on KNKRLP 96.1 FM Kohala. This is Eila Allgood and
Michál Anna.
And we just have a few more minutes, and we would like to finish with some talking about sadness to empowerment. So where would you like to go next, love?
Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah, transforming things. I think, back to the compost, you have to take all that kind of messy stuff that you may have been dealing with in any form, sadness, attachment, things that we don't want to let go of on any level, or just, moving through grief. It's composting. It's changing. So we want to plant it and let it, it's got to percolate a little bit and start to turn into something else. And in that process, there's a lot of creative energy. There's a ton of creative energy and things moving and percolating and breaking down, and fire and heat and steam going on. So we can use all that energy. And myself, and we were just kind of chatting about this, like, we both, I think, do this in different ways. I've always created a new project. Like, I'm like, okay, I did on a really deep last big pivot of my life, I did an album, and created, like, I poured myself into that, poems that I'd written for years, changing them into music and creating and pouring my pain and my sadness and transforming it with my emotion and singing it and bringing it. And when I wanted to, like, reach for the old thing, I would go, no, I'm going to put myself in the project. Michál, get up and go sing. Go do the thing. You have to be hard on yourself. Cowgirl up. I always done that a lot in my life. Is I've been my own greatest cheerleader. Because you don't want to be sitting
on the couch all day. Right?
Otherwise you end up under the blankets like your friend.
Right.
I don't want to end up under the blankets.
Right.
So I'm like, cowgirl up, get up. Don't sit here. You got to do something and make yourself. So no one's going to do it for you. God helps those who help themselves. So we got to get ourselves up. No one's going to drag you out. I mean, maybe they will. Good for you if you got someone doing that. But most of the time, it's you dragging yourself out, going to God, going to your guides, your angels, however you see that, and choosing life, choosing to live, choosing to move forward, choosing to rise out of the mire, because really this whole place is that. So we're choosing to move out of these frameworks into more expanded awareness, expanded consciousness, and expanded freedom.
I've had that experience of creating from the sadness, from the grief. Some of my favorite things that I've done have been from that, because I didn't know what they would be when they were. I just knew I needed to do the writing. I didn't know what the writing was going to look like when it was done. It's like for the person who's visual, you start with some visual idea, you grab some paints and a canvas. You don't know what it's going to be if you're really letting the emotions be the driving force in that creative process. Your mind has an idea of where you're starting, but by letting the emotions come out and onto the paper and onto that creative project, like really magical things happen. And then maybe somebody else reads that or sees that, and it helps them process theirs. That's like my dream, is that, wow, it might even help somebody else down the road. I don't know. I'm not attached.
So beautiful. Planting seeds. So that planting seeds as we move through our own things, like I said, we compost, we change it up, plant some seeds that might become a tree, and then someone might eat some of that fruit.
That's right.
See, so
that's right.
We're farmers. We get to farm. We get to plant seeds. We get to grow flowers. If, you know a tree by the fruit it bears. So what are we doing? Are we putting our good soil? Are we taking our sadness, our pain, our things? Are we composting it and making it into something good that good thoughts, good trees can grow from, and we can bring good fruit? Or are we just taking it and spreading it all over the place, and it's just becoming like manure just sitting around.
Or letting it turn into anger and just walking around angry
breeding
all the time.
fungus and mold.
Because we're sad and everyone else should be sad because we're sad. And, it's, I've had the experience of being, holding that sadness and grief and joy all at the same time.
Yeah.
And we are capable of that.
Yeah. Oh, which often I think, and many times in my sadness, I was shown a glimpse of the joy coming.
Yeah.
And then it's like, but it's coming after like your next 3 months of sadness.
Yeah, you're not done yet.
You're
but
not
here's
done
just
yet. Here's a
little preview.
Little preview. Look forward. Little trailer for the movie to come. They get a little trailer so you know that's what's happening soon. If you can just get through this next section, it's going to be great. You'll love it.
Yeah.
So remember, everything changes.
Yeah.
Nothing lasts forever. The page is going to turn. You're going to enter a new chapter. Nothing is forever. Everything is changing. We are eternal beings having experiences forever.
Yeah, and it's kind of a privilege, because when we're not in this life, we don't know that we're going to be able to have these experiences. So, I think sadness is just fine. I don't want it to hang out all day long, but
well, when you go wide and you think about the bigger realm, sadness is something we only get to experience in these lower places, because when you're in a higher framework, well, you don't perceive separation like that. Mm-hmm. And separation in that way is a gift. Like, well, to feel that yearning and pain just makes you remember the beauty of the oneness so much more, the beauty of love so much more. To know the angst is to know the ultimate love of being held by unity in God.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful place to end today, because unity, that's really
That's what it is.
What it's all about, and where we want to be, and that's where the joy is. And so thank you for being here today and doing this pre-record. It's been fun, different, and to all of you out there, we wish you a beautiful day and a beautiful everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Leap from unity. Be blessed.
Leap from unity. There you go. Aloha.
Aloha.